Janice, just to get right into the conversation, who is Janice Iche? How would you describe yourself?
So you actually mentioned this question earlier, and I just brushed it off. I didn't even think about it, but it's a question that I'm never sure how to answer because I literally change every day. So maybe you could tell me more who I am. Me, I'm just being, I'm just who I am. I think that's the best way I can say I'm who I am. And I love that phrase, actually. I'm just who I am. I'm exactly how I am, and I don't try to be anything different or anything. Like, I am who I am 100% to the core, and I will never be anything else. So, yeah.
Tell us a little about your childhood and your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and how was that like for you?
I grew up here in this city, Mombasa. It was nice. I come from like a middle class family, so I'm privileged to have been pretty secure financially my entire life. I've always had a home. I've always had food on my table. So I've been privileged in that way. And I guess in that sense, it gave me so much time to like think about myself and self-reflect. Since childhood, I've always been introspective, and it's because I had that time to be introspective. So, yeah, that was my childhood. Yeah.
How did you first interact with music? How did you get bitten by the bug?
My parents, of course. I think as most of us, my parents, they love music up to today. But more when I was a kid, because they used to throw big, huge parties with lots of people and loud music. So I have these childhood memories of being under 5 years old and at parties at my house, like, and it's my parents and their friends, their relatives, yeah. And the music was always a big part of those parties. Yeah.
How do you balance all these different art forms? I mean, coming from the perspective of an artist, if you pick up something like even rap, if you pick up something like painting, it's kind of a really intense calling. You kind of feel like, wow, I want to just do this thing with my all. How do you balance and how do you get the time to, juggle all of these things? Because now I see you as having multiple interests, maybe all pulling you in different directions. How?
One thing I'm learning about like getting older, I'm turning 27 this year. I'm still young, but like I feel like I have enough life that I can look back on. You know what I mean? Like I have enough to look back on. And one thing I'm learning about that is that there's time for everything. And like for me, with each different art form that I indulge in, they all have different callings to me. Like when I started painting, it was a way to deal with the grief of losing Mutuma. That's why I started painting. And I also, it's because in 2018, this is even before any of that stuff happened, I had left home in a very abrupt and a very like secretive way. I kind of like ran away, only that I'm an adult, you know what I mean? I like really like I detached myself from from my family completely. I wasn't not in contact with them. I wasn't under them in any way. They were not helping me financially or anything. So I was out in Nairobi on my own. And for me, that was painting was my way of dealing with all of that. So, and photography came before that because it started after I got out of an abusive relationship with a man that I was in, and that's when I started taking pictures because I had to look for the beauty in life again. And with DJing was when after I went through this whole, I'm not sure if you guys like understand how intense what I went through was because I was also kind of excommunicated from the scene. Do you understand? Like, I
Yeah,
lost
totally.
all those relationships. Everyone couldn't talk to me anymore. No one could look at me anymore. You know, I had to deal with that pain of losing a community that I was so a part of. I was so a part of it. And then all of a sudden, no one can look at me anymore. So dealing with that, I kind of stopped believing in music as this communal thing. I stopped believing in it until I started DJing, because that's when I started feeling like, yeah, you know what? Music isn't me anymore. Because, you know, I was so isolated away from the whole industry that I knew before. I had lost touch with the communal aspect of music. And that's what DJing did for me. It reminded me how music is still communal. Yeah.
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 Touching on something you've mentioned about being excommunicated from the scene. I mean, this is something that caused a lot of raised a lot of questions regarding the new Nairobi scene. A lot of people who were not in the perceived inner circle felt that they were not that they were excluded, and it kind of felt like to a lot of people like an exclusive in-house thing, like you can't sit here type of thing. Do you maybe feel like that could have contributed to New Nairobi? I'm trying to be careful with my words. Do you think it contributed to it not flourishing to not flourishing to maybe the leaps that we may have expected?
You know, I'll say, you know, it's cliquey, but it is not because that is their intention. Let me just say it's that people are so people are like in their heads, in different worlds in their heads. You know, the world that you live in your head is not the same world I live in my head. So
Yeah.
it's understanding how, for me, I really understood that the kind of the reason why it's cliquey like that, it's because they're the ones who get each other. By the way, even me, when I was there, I felt like, oh my God, I don't feel like I fit in, you know? But for you to be in those spaces, you have to be a certain kind of way. And it's just how it ends up being, you know? And like for me also, I'm not that way in many ways. Like I'm not big with drugs, by the way, because drugs is a big part of it. I've never been big, and people would always feel uncomfortable with me in the room when they're trying to do drugs because they know that I don't do drugs, you know, stuff like that. You have to be a certain kind of way to fit in and for you to flourish in those spaces. But it's not because people want to be in a clique, it's because everyone is stuck in their really awkward ways of thinking and of viewing themselves and each other, that we can't really see each other for who we truly are. And like it's because I'm too busy thinking that you are a certain way because I'm a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of blocks, it makes it unable for anyone to see the other person and to acknowledge each other for who we all truly are. Yeah.
So I think that's a really good perspective. It's a very different way to look at it. That's just how people are, and you're going to click with the people who are kind of like you, people who you have
alignment,
things in common with. Sometimes that thing can be drugs, that thing can be music. Yeah.
That's insights. I've also seen this very, like, it's something that's still kept on going, not necessarily in the new Nairobi scene, but just generally the spaces that now exist. There's electronic music, there's house spaces, and so when I've been in these spaces, there's some people you'll meet and you'll click with, and there's some people who you'll meet and you won't click. So from the outside looking in, you'll feel like, oh my God, I can't be in this space. Oh my God. But at the end of the day, these guys are just being themselves, and they're around people who are also just being themselves. So they're like, oh my God, I can be cool around you. Okay, let's hang out then. You know? So that's a pretty interesting perspective to think from.
I think the thing is that there's just not enough spaces for all different kinds of people to go to and enjoy, like art spaces like those, you know? It just so happens that those are the kinds of people who have the funding and who have the resources to build this kind of spaces. You know what I mean? So then it just ends up looking like it's only for them because, but yeah, it's also, we just need more people to be able to, different kinds of perspectives and different kinds of people putting up places like alchemists, you know, not only alchemists, but like there's another place like alchemists for other people who, you know what I mean? Like just go where you, yeah, but it's also because of that lack of, you know, it's just somehow that people who have money are this way. Yeah.
I wanted to take your mind back to the art installation that you did at Muse. I always wanted to ask you, what was your thought process behind it, and what message did you want to pass across through that art installation?
Yeah, that installation happened in 2019. Yeah. Yeah, this was also during the time. By the way, my loss of Mutuma, I'm still grieving until today, honestly. Until today, I'm still grieving. So he was one of the only people who ever really saw me and like knew who I was. So losing that kind of person, I felt so lonely out in the world. And also remember, I told you that the year before I had left home, so I was not in communication with my family. So I was feeling really lonely, and I was looking for ways to share myself with other people. You know, I didn't want it to be through sex. After sleeping, you know, you don't want to do that anymore. And I was looking for a way to really just like feel like I was close to people again. Because I was, oh my God, living in Nairobi, I was going through so much I was going through so much. It's crazy. When I look back now, I'm like, wow, I don't know how I was living. I don't know. But I was just really isolated. And that was my way of sort of like trying to feel close to the people around me. So the whole theme of the performance was to just be as I am when I'm at home, but with other people. I wanted it to share like a form of intimacy, that maybe only your your family or your partner gets to see, you know. So it was just my way of really trying to be close to my community at the time. So yeah, I was just showing who I am and hoping that people would relate to me and kind of see themselves in me and just form this feeling of togetherness and not isolation, because I was really isolated at the time. Yeah.
Have you shared how your songwriting process looks like? If there's one at all, if there's a process you go through as you're writing your songs.
Sorry?
Your songwriting process. If there's any stages at all, or like what the journey through your songwriting process, if there is one.
Oh yes, this is also a good time to mention that I am currently in the depths of self-producing my debut album. It's crazy. Wow. Being like I'm only like 1 year and maybe 2, 3, 4 months old, 5 months old when it comes to producing. So I still consider myself a newbie, but undertaking this has been a really interesting journey so far. My songwriting process, oh my God, I'm free. I'm very free. Now that I've started producing, I've added even more ways to write music, Before I was already free, I would write mostly I get melodies in my head. I just get melodies in my head, and sometimes the melody can come with lyrics. Sometimes it's just a melody, but lots of times it comes with lyrics, maybe a line or two there, and it's so powerful that I have to record it on my phone or write it down or something. So that's usually how I start writing my music. But now that I started producing, I can start by producing the beat. So that's a whole new dimension that's been added to my process that I didn't have before. So now I could start producing the beat, and that's also another discussion. How do you start producing a beat? But
what software are you using?
Ableton. But it's because it's sponsored. These people are giving.
Yeah, so why not? So why not?
Everywhere. So why not? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a license, so I'm like, of course I'll use it. Thank you. Yeah. But I started on Studio One. I started producing on Studio One. Yeah. Then switched to Ableton. No, I did FL for a bit, maybe a month only, and then moved quickly to Ableton.
And
yeah.
you felt it was not deep enough for you. That's interesting, though.
Which one do you think is okay, definitely Ableton because that's what you stuck with, but why did you not stick with the others?
You know what? I actually really loved Studio One. I loved Studio One, by the way, but I didn't have I had a cracked version of it. And on the other hand, I was being given a full Ableton license. So I was like, oh, of course, thank you. So the only reason I've stuck with Ableton is because, okay, it is, by the way, it's also fun. I love Ableton too, by the way. Honestly, with my heart, I actually do love Ableton because it simplifies so many things. It makes it so easy for you to do something that would have taken you so long, or you having to go through so many different pathways to in another door. But Ableton is so direct and it's so simple, and this, because also when I started producing, I was so intimidated by the door. It was so scary to me. So but Ableton made it easier for me to learn. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Really looking forward to see how your journey will flourish, and just to even maybe be in studio with you very soon. Maybe
I'm so proud of you. Getting into music. Your music is great. I love it. Your voice is really nice. I love listening to your music, by the way. So
thank you so much.
It was nice when I saw your the first song, Rafiki Adui. I loved that song. I was like, wow. I didn't know you were also an artist in that way. So I just, it was really good for me to see, and I was happy to see that. Yeah.
Maybe also one of my final questions, artist to artist, something we all go through, distribution. I saw you made some posts on social media, on your Instagram a few days ago about some distribution company. What would you have to tell fellow artists? What would you have to what advice do you have regarding distribution? What's your take on that?
First of all, whatever they're selling you, whose album was listed? Have you listened to Solange's album? There's a sample where I think it's another artist saying, there's this white man who's telling me I'm worth $4 million. I must be worth 30 million or more. You know what I mean? Remember that. Whatever they're selling you, you're worth probably double, triple, maybe sometimes even 5 times more that. And the money is there. It's there. So it's just a matter of you knowing your worth. That's what I'm going to tell people. Know your worth and even if it seems like an opportunity, okay, like for me at the time, it was an opportunity. You know what I mean? And it did do for me what I wanted it to do. I wanted the opportunity to get my name out there. And it has done that for me. But still, you shouldn't be getting exploited while that's happening. You know what I mean? It's a matter of negotiating, knowing your worth and negotiating towards your worth. Because if you don't, they will take advantage of you. So, but you can fight for yourself. And that's the thing. People actually, they don't expect it from you. So when you do, they kind of like have to, they don't, like they weren't expecting it. So they will kind of go along with it. They won't fight you too much. Just make sure you fight for yourself and know your worth. That's all I'm gonna say. Know your worth. Don't remember what they said when a white man is trying to like buy you for 4 million, you're worth 30 and above. Like, yeah.
Yeah, most def. Thank you so much, Janice.
Yeah.
Let's show these white people our worth.
Yeah. Don't forget your worth. By the way, they're coming here. Can you imagine a whole company like that? They've come all the way here to build their work, but who are they getting the inspiration and motivation from? Without us, they would be nothing. You know what I mean? Without us, they wouldn't be here in the first place. They wouldn't have that company in the first place. So
it's
just
such
remember,
a topic because if you look at most of great musicians, the likes of Kotbiro, I'm forgetting the name, Bogada. If you look under his credits, his music is owned by foreign distribution companies. Most of our great artists have their royalties kind of offshore. You know, it's something that I feel as the new generation of artists, we should really be cautious of just maintaining and owning our own masters.
Yeah. So I also want to say that please, like, fight for yourself. Knowing your worth, it comes with fighting for yourself. Can you imagine when I made that post, the number of people who DM'd me saying that they've experienced the same with the same people? You know, like you don't. When you fight for yourself, you're also fighting for other people. Because in my fighting for myself, I was trying to show them that we don't accept this. We don't want this. We don't need this. We're not accepting it. And in that way, I'm like clearing the way for whoever is coming behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I said it so that anyone else can see and know what to do. You know what I mean? So when you fight for yourself, you're fighting for someone else. And that's also the thing that I did with my whole sexual abuse story. I had to make it public because they wanted me to keep it secret. And there are people who knew about it before me who kept it secret. And that's why I ended up also falling victim. You understand? There are people who knew who he was. So this is such an important thing. It's so important to fight for yourself. Because when you fight for yourself, you're fighting for the next person. And it's so important. You don't know what difference you can make. So that's a big thing I'd love to tell other artists in this industry. Yeah.
Amazing. That's a great message. I think that's a good way to end the interview. So yeah, thank you so much for making the time. Hope to interact with you again in the near future. And I wish you all the best in your journey. Just keep on fighting. Believe in yourself and stand for yourself. You don't need a clique. You don't need a community. Not to undermine the power of communities. Communities are very important, but still, I just believe in yourself. Sayanka, take it away, bro.
My parting shot would be from this lovely conversation. First, my encouragement to Janice herself for, first of all, being the beacon for pushing such conversations and such things to light, this darkness, because everything that happens in the dark definitely has to people just have to know at the end of the day. So getting that courage, finding that courage, and still having the perseverance to push on even after, because there's always that like, okay, now I'll do this. Because this has happened to me, I have to share this. And then there's also dealing with the aftermath. So pushing through all of that and still flourishing at the end of the day. That's really key, and that's some people, some artists do run and do share and do become the beacon that people need, but as time goes by, they get watered down because they don't have the strength to just keep on pushing, because it's a continuous battle until this thing is over. Until these people stop coming to take our beautiful bird.
But let me tell you, it's not an easy process making it out of all of that. And people look at me and they think it's easy, but it's because I'm literally really powerful. I'm literally powerful, and not everyone is as powerful as me. There are so many people who, not to say that that's a bad thing, but there are lots of people who lose their lives when it comes to something like that. So many people, not everyone gets to make it out as beautifully as I have. You know what I mean? Not everyone. And we shouldn't forget those people. It's really like, it's not a bad thing because even when I was struggling, a lot of people looked down on me when I was struggling. And it's not like I wasn't going to make it out. You know what I mean? Like, just be there for the people in your life and don't abandon them. Going through hard times, they always end. That's the lesson we're learning. Hard times come to an end. They do, even when we don't think they are. Because I didn't know, by the way, I didn't know I would make it out of it and get to this point. When I was in it, I thought I was actually dying. I was. But the way I survived, wow. Even for me, I look at myself every morning in the mirror and I'm like, I'm still here. Wow. It's big. It's a big deal. So really, let's all just be gentle with each other and not look down on people who are struggling, because struggling it's a part of the cycle. You can't go up without going down first. You know what I mean? So let's not look down on each other. When your friends are struggling, don't look down on them. Be there for them.